Yeah. No cameos today, Pepper. Keep your distance. Sorry, guys. I was trying to convince the kitty to come over and say hello, but he seems happy to stay at a distance today. I don't want to pick him up and haul him on screen. He's had a very difficult week. He had to go to the vet.
Yeah.
Ugh, what an ordeal. What an ordeal to be fawned over by everyone at the vet's office because they all love him and given a jaunty little kerchief. Anyway.
Which
all
has
right.
enabled him to get stuck in paper bags.
I don't know. I think it would have happened even without the kerchief. I don't know.
That's entirely possible. I don't know.
Because he went through the bag that way, right?
Yeah.
He went through the handle in the bag like this. Anyway, it's on my Instagram if you guys want to see it.
Didn't help. No.
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming to another installment of the Isolated Literary Society presents The Little Prince. I'm just going to say definitively we will be finishing the book today.
Yeah.
It went much faster than I expected. So
I think that's safe to say.
I think it's safe to say. It's not very much of the book is left. So, very excited. You may recall that yesterday I actually stopped in the middle of a chapter, which I don't know. I guess I could have just finished it. There's only like a page and a half left in the chapter. But I was just like, I should have stopped before this chapter started. I don't know if stopping in the middle of the chapter was the right way to handle that realization, but here we are. I'm going to go back just a little bit to kind of reconnect us to what we were doing. So the fox, the little prince has just met a fox. And the fox has explained to the little prince what it means to be tamed and why the little prince should tame him. So after the first day of sitting just a little distance from the fox, he comes back. The next day, the little prince came back. "It would have been better to come back at the same hour," said the fox. "If, for example, you come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then at 3 o'clock I shall begin to be happy. I shall feel happier and happier as the hour advances. At 4 o'clock I shall already be worrying and jumping about. I shall show you how happy I am. But if you come at just any time, I shall never know at what hour my heart is to be ready to greet you. One must observe the proper rites." "What is a rite?" asked the little prince. "These also are actions too often neglected," said the fox. "They are what make one day different from other days, 1 hour from other hours. There is a rite, for example, among the hunters. Every Thursday they dance with the village girls. So Thursday is a wonderful day for me. I can take a walk as far as the vineyards. But if the hunters danced at just any time, every day would be just like every other day, and I should never have any vacation at all." So the little prince tamed the fox, and when the hour of his departure drew near, "Ah," said the fox, "I shall cry." "It is your own fault," said the little prince. "I never wished you any sort of harm, but you wanted me to tame you." "Yes, that is so," said the fox. "But now you are going to cry," said the little prince. "Yes, that is so," said the fox. "Then it has done you no good at all." "It has done me good," said the fox, "because of the color of the wheat fields." And then he added, "Go and look again at your roses. You will understand now that yours is unique in all the world. Then come back to say goodbye to me, and I will make you a present of a secret." I should have read at least that far to connect it, because remember he talked earlier about the wheat means nothing to him because he doesn't eat bread, but now he has met the little prince whose hair is golden, like the color of the wheat. And so in the future, when he sees the wheat, it will remind him of the little prince. And that's what that line is about. I hope you all remembered that and it hit you right here in your heart parts, because it always gets me there. And I'm sorry for putting 24 hours in between those moments. But so it goes. The little prince went away to look again at the roses. "You are not at all like my rose," he said. "As yet, you are nothing. No one has tamed you, and you have tamed no one. You are like my fox when I first knew him. He was only a fox like 100,000 other foxes, but I have made him my friend, and now he's unique in all the world." And the roses were very much embarrassed, which seems a bit rude. They didn't do anything to deserve that.
That's true.
"You are beautiful, but you are empty," he went on. "One could not die for you. To be sure, an ordinary passerby would think that my rose looked just like you, the rose that belongs to me. But in herself alone, she is more important than all the hundreds of you other roses, because it is she that I have watered, because it is she that I have put under the glass globe, because it is she that I have sheltered behind the screen, because it is for her that I have killed the caterpillars, except the 2 or 3 that we saved to become butterflies. Because it is she that I have listened to when she grumbled or boasted, or even sometimes when she said nothing, because she is my rose." And he went back to meet the fox. "Goodbye," he said. "Goodbye," said the fox. "And now here is my secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye." "What is essential is invisible to the eye," the little prince repeated, so that he would be sure to remember. "It is the time you have wasted on your rose that makes your rose so important." "It is the time I have wasted for my rose," said the little prince, so that he would be sure to remember. "Men have forgotten this truth," said the fox, "but you must not forget it. You become responsible forever for what you have tamed. You are responsible for your rose." "I am responsible for my rose," the little prince repeated, so that he would be sure to remember. Chapter 22. "Good morning," said the little prince. "Good morning," said the railway switchman. "What do you do here?" the little prince asked. "I sort out travelers in bundles of 1,000, said the switchman. I send off the trains that carry them, now to the right, now to the left." And a brilliantly lighted express train shook the switchman's cabin as it rushed by with a roar like thunder. "They are in a great hurry," said the little prince. "What are they looking for?" "Not even the locomotive engineer knows that," said the switchman. And a second brightly lighted express thundered by in the opposite direction. "Are they coming back already?" demanded the little prince. "These are not the same ones," said the switchman. "It is an exchange." "Were they not satisfied where they were?" asked the little prince. "No one is ever satisfied where he is," said the switchman. And they heard the roaring thunder of a third brilliantly lighted express. "Are they pursuing the first travelers?" demanded the little prince. "They are pursuing nothing at all," said the switchman. "They are asleep in there, or if they are not asleep, they are yawning. Only the children are flattening their noses against the window panes." "Only the children know what they are looking for," said the little prince. "They waste their time over a rag doll, and it becomes very important to them. And if anybody takes it away from them, they cry." "They are lucky," the switchman said. Might be the most... I think I already said something else was the most inscrutable chapter, but I think that actually might be the most inscrutable chapter.
Yes.
Chapter 23. "Good morning," said the little prince. "Good morning," said the merchant. This was a merchant who sold pills that had been invented to quench thirst. You need only swallow 1 pill a week, and you would feel no need of anything to drink. "Why are you selling those?" asked the little prince. "Because they save a tremendous amount of time," said the merchant. "Computations have been made by experts. With these pills, you save 53 minutes in every week." "And what do I do with those 53 minutes?" "Anything you like." "As for me," said the little prince to himself, "if I had 53 minutes to spend as I liked, I should walk at my leisure towards a spring of fresh water." And here we have a picture of a spring of fresh water.
Yes. Very like one too.
Chapter 24. It was now the 8th day since I had had my accident in the desert, and I had listened to the story of the merchant as I was drinking the last drops of my water supply. "Ah," I said to the little prince, "these memories of yours are very charming, but I have not yet succeeded in repairing my plane. I have nothing more to drink, and I too should be very happy if I could walk at my leisure towards a spring of fresh water." "My friend the fox," the little prince said to me, "my dear little man, this is no longer a matter that has anything to do with the fox." "Why not?" "Because I am about to die of thirst." He did not follow my reasoning, and he answered me, "It is a good thing to have had a friend, even if one is about to die. I, for instance, am very glad to have had a fox as a friend." "He has no way of guessing the danger," I said to myself. "He has never been either hungry or thirsty. A little sunshine is all he needs." But he looked at me steadily and replied to my thought. "I am thirsty too. Let us look for a well." I made a gesture of weariness. It is absurd to look for a well at random in the immensity of the desert. But nevertheless, we started walking. When we had trudged along for several hours in silence, the darkness fell, and the stars began to come out. Thirst had made me a little feverish, and I looked at them as if I were in a dream. The little prince's last words came reeling back into my memory. "Then you are thirsty too?" I demanded. But he did not reply to my question. He merely said to me, "Water may also be good for the heart." I did not understand this answer, but I said nothing. I knew very well that it was impossible to cross-examine him. He was tired. He sat down. I sat down beside him. And after a little silence, he spoke again. "The stars are beautiful because of a flower that cannot be seen." I replied, "Yes, that is so." And without saying anything more, I looked across the ridges of sand that were stretched out before us in the moonlight. "The desert is beautiful," said the little prince added. And that was true. I have always loved the desert. One sits down on a desert sand dune, sees nothing, hears nothing, yet through the silence something throbs and gleams. "What makes the desert beautiful," said the little prince, "is that somewhere it hides a well." I was astonished by a sudden understanding of that mysterious radiation of the sands. When I was a little boy, I lived in an old house, and legend told us that a treasure was buried there. To be sure, no one had ever known how to find it. Perhaps no one had ever even looked for it. But it cast an enchantment over the house. My home was hiding a secret in the depths of its heart. "Yes," I said to the little prince, "the house, the stars, the desert. What gives them their beauty is something that is invisible." "I am glad," he said, "that you agree with my fox." As the little prince dropped off to sleep, I took him in my arms and set out walking once more. I felt deeply moved and stirred. It seemed to me that I was carrying a very fragile treasure. It seemed to me even that there was nothing more fragile on all the earth. In the moonlight, I looked at his pale forehead, his closed eyes, his locks of hair that trembled in the wind, and I said to myself, what I see here is nothing but a shell. What is important is invisible. As his lips opened slightly with the suspicion of a half smile, I said to myself again, what moves me so deeply about this little prince who is sleeping here is his loyalty to a flower, the image of a rose that shines through his whole being like the flame of a lamp, even when he is asleep. And I felt him to be more fragile still. I felt the need of protecting him, as if he himself were a flame that might be extinguished by a little puff of wind. And as I walked on so, I found the well at daybreak. Chapter 25. "Men," said the little prince, "set out on their way in express trains, but they do not know what they are looking for. Then they rush about and get excited and turn round and round." And he added, "It is not worth the trouble." The well that we had come to was not like the wells of the Sahara. The wells of the Sahara are mere holes dug in the sand. But this one was like a well in a village. But there was no village here, and I thought I must be dreaming. It is strange, I said to the little prince. Everything is ready for use. The pulley, the bucket, the rope. He laughed, touched the rope, and set the pulley to working. And the pulley moaned, like an old weather vane which the wind has long since forgotten. Do you hear? Said the little prince. We have wakened the well, and it is singing. I did not want him to tire himself with the rope. Leave it to me, I said. It is too heavy for you. I hoisted the bucket slowly to the edge of the well and set it there, happy, tired as I was, over my achievement. The song of the pulley was still in my ears, and I could see the sunlight shimmer in the still, trembling water. I am thirsty for this water, said the little prince. Give me some of it to drink. And I understood what he had been looking for. I raised the bucket to his lips. He drank, his eyes closed. It was as sweet as some special festival treat. This water was indeed a different thing from ordinary nourishment. Its sweetness was born of a walk under the stars, the song of the pulley, the effort of my arms. It was good for the heart like a present. When I was a little boy, the lights of the Christmas tree, the music of the midnight mass, the tenderness of smiling faces used to make up so the radiance of the gifts I received. The men where you live, said the little prince, raise 5,000 roses in the same garden, and yet they do not find in it what they are looking for. They do not find it, I replied. And yet what they are looking for could be found in one single rose, or in a little water. Yes, that is true, I said. And the little prince added, but the eyes are blind. One must look with the heart. I had drunk the water. I breathed easily. At sunrise, the sand is the color of honey, and that honey color was making me happy too. What brought me, then, this sense of grief? You must keep your promise, said the little prince softly, as he sat down beside me once more. What promise? You know, a muzzle for my sheep. I am responsible for this flower. I took my rough drafts of drawing out of my pocket. The little prince looked over them and laughed as he said, Your baobabs, they look a little like cabbages. Oh, I had been so proud of my baobabs. Your fox, his ears look a little like horns, and they are too long. And he laughed again. You are not fair, little prince, I said. I don't know how to draw anything except boa constrictors from the outside and boa constrictors from the inside. Oh, that will be all right, he said. Children understand. So then I made a pencil sketch of a muzzle, and as I gave it to him, my heart was torn. You have plans that I do not know about, I said. But he did not answer me. He said to me instead, You know, my descent to the earth. Tomorrow will be its anniversary. Then, after a silence, he went on, I came down very near here. And he flushed. And once again, without understanding why, I had a queer sense of sorrow. One question, however, occurred to me. Then it was not by chance that on the morning when I first met you, a week ago, you were strolling along like that, all alone, 1,000 miles from any inhabited region? You were on your way back to the place where you landed. The little prince flushed again, and I added with some hesitancy, Perhaps it was because of the anniversary? The little prince flushed once more. He never answered questions, but when one flushes, does that not mean yes? Ah, I said to him, I am a little frightened. But he interrupted me. Now you must work. You must return to your engine. I will be waiting for you here. Come back tomorrow evening. But I was not reassured. I remembered the fox. One runs the risk of weeping a little if one lets himself be tamed. Beside the well, there was the ruin of an old stone wall. When I came back from my work the next evening, I saw from some distance away my little prince sitting on top of this wall with his feet dangling. and I heard him say, "Then you don't remember. This is not the exact spot." Another voice must have answered him, for he replied to it, "Yes, yes, this is the right day, but this is not the place." I continued my walk toward the wall. At no time did I see or hear anyone. The little prince, however, replied once again, "Exactly. You will see where my track begins in the sand. You have nothing to do but wait for me there. I shall be there tonight." I was only 20 meters from the wall and still saw nothing. After a silence, the little prince spoke again. "You have good poison? You are sure that it will not make me suffer too long?" I stopped in my tracks, my heart torn asunder, but still I did not understand. "Now go away," said the little prince. "I want to get down from the wall." I dropped my eyes then to the foot of the wall, and I leaped into the air. There before me, facing the little prince, was one of those yellow snakes that take just 30 seconds to bring your life to an end. Even as I was digging into my pocket to get out my revolver, I made a running step back. But at the noise I made, the snake let himself float easily across the sand like the dying spray of a fountain, and in no apparent hurry disappeared, with a light metallic sound among the stones. I reached the wall just in time to catch my little man in my arms. His face was white as snow. "What does this mean?" I demanded. "Why are you talking to snakes?" I had loosened the golden muffler that he always wore. I had moistened his temples and had given him some water to drink. And now I did not dare ask him any more questions. He looked at me very gravely and put his arms around my neck. I felt his heart beating like the heart of a dying bird shot with someone's rifle. "I am glad you have found what was the matter with your engine," he said. "Now you can go back home." "How do you know about that?" I was just coming to tell him that my work had been successful, beyond anything I had dared to hope. He had no answer to my question, but he added, "I too am going back home today." Then, sadly, "It is much farther. It is much more difficult." I realized clearly that something extraordinary was happening. I was holding him close in my arms as if he were a little child, and yet it seemed to me that he was rushing headlong toward an abyss from which I could not do any for which I could do nothing to restrain him. His look was very serious, like someone lost far away. "I have your sheep, and I have the sheep's box, and I have the muzzle." And he gave me a sad smile. I waited a long time. I could see that he was reviving little by little. "Dear little man," I said to him, "you are afraid." He was afraid, but there was no doubt about that. But he laughed lightly. "I shall never be. I shall be much more afraid this evening." Once again, I felt myself frozen by a sense of something irreparable. And I knew that I could not bear the thought of never hearing that laughter any more. For me, it was like a spring of fresh water in the desert. "Little man," I said, "I want to hear you laugh again." But he said to me, "Tonight it will be a year. My star then can be found right above the place where I came to earth a year ago." "Little man," I said, "tell me that it is only a bad dream, this affair of the snake and the meeting place and the star." But he did not answer my plea. He said to me instead, "The thing that is important is the thing that is not seen." "Yes, I know." "It is just as it is with a flower. If you love a flower that lives on a star, it is sweet to look at the sky at night. All the stars are abloom with flowers." "Yes, I know." "It is just as it is with the water. Because of the pulley and the rope, what you gave me to drink was like music. You remember how good it was." "Yes, I know." "And at night, you will look up at the stars. Where I live, everything is so small that I cannot show you where my star is to be found. It is better like that. My star will be just one of the stars for you, and so you will love to watch all the stars in the heavens. They will all be your friends. And besides, I'm going to make you a present." He laughed again. "Ah, little prince, dear little prince, I love to hear that laughter." "That is my present. Just that. It will be as it was when we drank the water." "What are you trying to say?" All men have the stars, he answered, but they are not the same things for different people. For some who are travelers, the stars are guides. For others, they are no more than little lights in the sky. For others who are scholars, they are problems. For my businessman, they were wealth. But all these stars are silent. You alone, will have the stars as no one else has them. What are you trying to say? In one of the stars, I shall be living. In one of them, I shall be laughing. And so it will be as if all the stars were laughing. When you look at the sky at night, you, only you, will have stars that can laugh. And he laughed again. And when your sorrow is comforted, time soothes all sorrows. You will be content that you have known me. You will always be my friend. You will want to laugh with me, and you will sometimes open your window, so, for that pleasure. And your friends will be properly astonished to see you laughing as you look at the sky. Then you will say to them, yes, the stars always make me laugh. And they will think you are crazy. It will be a very shabby trick that I shall have played on you. And he laughed again. It will be as if, in place of the stars, I had given you a great number of little bells that knew how to laugh. And he laughed again. Then he quickly became serious. Tonight, do not come. I shall not leave you, I said. I shall look as if I were suffering. I shall look a little as if I were dying. It is like that. Do not come to see that. It is not worth the trouble. I shall not leave you. But he was worried. I tell you, it is also because of the snake. He must not bite you. Snakes, they are malicious creatures. This one might bite you just for fun. I shall not leave you. But a thought came to reassure him. It is true that they have no more poison for a second bite. That night, I did not see him set out on his way. He got away from me without making a sound. When I succeeded in catching up with him, he was walking along with a quick and resolute step. He said to me merely, "Ah, you are there," and he took me by the hand, but he was still worrying. All right, did I skip the picture of the wall? Or did I show you guys a picture of him sitting on the wall?
Oh.
I can't remember if I showed that or not. I just suddenly...
I don't think so.
I got really caught up in him sitting on the wall with the snake watching.
Yeah.
Ooh. When I succeeded in catching up with him, he was walking along with a quick and resolute step. He said to me merely, "Ah, you are there," and he took me by the hand. But he was still worrying. "It was wrong of you to come. You will suffer. I shall look as if I were dead, and that will not be true." I said nothing. "You understand, it is too far. I cannot carry this body with me. It is too heavy." I said nothing. "But it will be like an old abandoned shell. There is nothing sad about old shells." I said nothing. He was a little discouraged, but he made one more effort. It will be very nice. I too shall look at the stars. All the stars will be wells with a rusty pulley. All the stars will pour out fresh water for me to drink." I said nothing. "That will be so amusing. You will have 500 million little bells, and I shall have 500 million springs of fresh water." And he too said nothing more, because he was crying. "Here it is. Let me go on by myself." And he sat down because he was afraid. Then he said again, "My flower, I am responsible for her. And she is so weak. She is so naive. She has 4 thorns of no use at all to protect herself against all the world." I too sat down because I was not able to stand up any longer. There now, that is all. He still hesitated a little, then he got up. He took one step. I could not move. There was nothing but a flash of yellow close to his ankle. He remained motionless for an instant. He did not cry out. He fell as gently as a tree falls. There was not even any sound because of the sand. And now 6 years have already gone by. I have never yet told this story. The companions who met me on my return were well content to see me alive. I was sad, but I told them, I am tired. Now my sorrow is comforted a little. That is to say, not entirely. But I know that he did go back to his planet, because I did not find his body at daybreak. It was not such a heavy body. And at night, I love to listen to the stars. It is like 500 million little bells. But there's one extraordinary thing. When I drew the muzzle for the little prince, I forgot to add the leather strap to it. He will never have been able to fasten it onto his sheep. So now I keep wondering, what is happening on his planet? Perhaps the sheep has eaten the flower. At one time, I say to myself, surely not. The little prince shuts his flower under her glass globe every night, and he watches over his sheep very carefully. Then I am happy, and there is sweetness in the laughter of all the stars. But at another time, I say to myself, at some moment or other, one is absent-minded, and that is enough. On some one evening, he forgot the glass globe, or the sheep got out without making any noise in the night. And then the little bells are changed to tears. Here, then, is a great mystery. For you who also love the little prince, and for me, nothing in the universe can be the same if somewhere we do not know whether a sheep that we never saw has, yes or no, eaten a rose. Look up at the sky. Ask yourselves, is it yes or no? Has the sheep eaten the flower? And you will see how everything changes. And no grown-up will ever understand that this is a matter of so much importance. One last drawing of the little prince falling to the sand as a tree falls. Can you get the lights? This is, to me, the loveliest and saddest landscape in the world. It's the final illustration, actually, in the book, is this. This is, to me, the loveliest and saddest landscape in the world. It is the same as that on the preceding page, but I have drawn it again to impress it on your memory. It is here that the little prince appeared on earth and disappeared. Look at it carefully so that you will be sure to recognize it in case you travel someday to the African desert. And if you should come upon this spot, please do not hurry on. Wait for a time, exactly under the star. Then, if a little man appears who laughs, who has golden hair and who refuses to answer questions, you will know who he is. If this should happen, please comfort me. Send me word that he has come back. Sorry, that got me a little bit thinking about how the author died.
Yeah.
Yeah. I won't go into it, but you can look up his Wikipedia if you want to. It's a bit of a mystery. But anyway. Sorry.
And the fact that this was published posthumously makes everything
the fact
10 times more.
Yeah, the fact that the first time anybody ever bought this book and read it, anyone other than a friend or his wife or his publisher, anybody else who might have read it, the first time any stranger read this story, to whom he was asking to do him that favor, was too late. Anyway, that got me. I was on the verge through the whole last section, but
yeah, it is
that
one gets you in the feels.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks everyone for sticking around. Look, it only took us half an hour.
Yeah,
that was that. Man, I learned something about pacing myself with a shorter book in that experience. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. And yeah, Let's see. I was thinking we would wrap up on Friday. That was my initial plan. If I hadn't read so long yesterday, we would have. And then I would start the next book next week. But that just gives it a nice shape to it. But I guess I'll just start with the next thing tomorrow. There's no particular reason not to.
What is the next thing?
Or I could take a break. Michelle said you could take a break. Like, that's true.
That is also valid.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, sure. Why not? I will take tomorrow off. Saturday, I do have my show, my concert, excuse me. I will be playing at 7 p.m. later than I originally planned, but it's official. I changed the time on the event and everything to 7 p.m. because Thrilling Adventure Hour, which is an awesome, amazing stage show that used to go on in LA for like 10 years, and they released the audio as a podcast. They're doing some live shows online now for charity. So on Saturday, their show will be at 5. So I decided to push mine back till 7. So nobody would have to choose between them, including me. Anyway, so I hope that you guys will come and listen to some songs on Saturday night. And then I'll be back on Monday with the next thing, which I'm going to start with Monarch of the Glen by Neil Gaiman from his collection Fragile Things. And the plan is that after I finish that, I'll just kind of pick and choose my way through Fragile Things with some of the short stories that are in there. Initially, I was thinking I'd read, just beginning to end with that collection, but there's no particular reason to read them in any order. So I'll do Monarch of the Glen first because that's what I said I was going to do. I know Michelle was excited to hear that one, so I don't want to go back on my word now. But then I'll read some of the other stuff from that collection. So I will hopefully see you on Saturday and then again on Monday. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed the story, even though it is very sad. I highly recommend, for those of you who have not read it before, to find a copy of it and read it through yourself, kind of on your own time and with your leisure to look at the illustrations as they happen. I recommend the Katherine Woods translation, but I'm sure that the other translations are fine. if you can't come across the Katherine Woods one for some reason. You're welcome. Thank you guys. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Okay, Michelle says she'll listen to any Neil Gaiman story, so we'll see. Maybe I'll flip through Fragile Things over the weekend and see if maybe I feel like starting with something else. Because after I picked Monarch of the Glen because I thought, it's a novella, so that's a good thing to make people choose between these two because they're both novellas. But that one is a bit heavy. And I have listened to the audiobook version of it, read by Neil Gaiman many times, and he does such a good job with all the character voices. I feel a little bit uncertain about what the experience will be like trying to read it myself, because I definitely can't do all the voices the same as he did, certainly. And why would I want to? You can listen to his version.
I would expect anything by Neil to be more or less heavy.
Yeah. Well, no, not necessarily. Not all the stories are
not necessarily
super heavy, but I guess he does skew. He skews heavy.
Yeah.
There's definitely a couple of stories in that book I will not be reading.
You could read The Day I Swapped My Dad for 2 Goldfish.
Right, yeah.
And that would not be heavy.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking, in Fragile Things in particular, in that collection, there are definitely... Oh, I put it back on my bookshelf. There are definitely some stories in there that are too heavy that nobody wants to hear right now.
Yeah.
Or I certainly don't want to hear right now.
Yeah.
But I think there are a few stories in there that are fun. Even though Monarch of the Glen is a bit heavy, it's not like depressing, I don't think. And there's a couple other ones. What is it? I can't remember the title. The one about him as a kid learning to play the double bass. That one's not too heavy. And the one about the one that's a ghost story and the facts of the case of the disappearance of Miss Finch or whatever. Like, that one's a little weird, but I don't feel like the ending is like heavy, really. Anyway, there's some weird stuff in that collection for sure. we'll see. I'll read as many of them as I feel like. If it starts to get too heavy or too weird, maybe I'll switch to another. I have plenty of short story collections that I could go through. Although I think that might be the only Neil Gaiman one that I have. No, I must have at least one other one. Well, I'll poke around. I'll see what I have. Maybe I'll make a stack of short story collections so people can see what the options are for after. Although I do have to be careful with things that are not in the public domain. I'm doing the Neil Gaiman one because he posted on Twitter giving permission for people to read anything of his like live online for kids specifically. Which this is not specifically for kids, but I'm hoping that if he said that about doing it for kids, he won't mind me doing it for a bunch of people who are kids at heart. Since I am not making any money off of this.
Right.
Anyway, yes, that is all. So, good night, everyone, and I will hopefully see you on Saturday. Yay. Oh, shoot, I didn't